Why don't I hang on? I've been waiting for 40 minutes to get on here. You know, what this shows is not the criminal conviction point, but the lack of character point.
I don't care that Donald Trump slept with a porn star at all.
No.
That's his personal business.
No.
The problem is the campaign finance violations and the business fraud.
I understand, but
Unexpected friends, such as progressive pundit Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and former Trump National Security Advisor Republican John Bolton, who are both well known for their criticism of President Biden and the Democrats, cut down MAGA talking points during a heated exchange on Piers Morgan's panel on Trump.
Together.
Should it have been brought at all, this case, given the relative triviality of it? Ultimately, it's about paying hush money to a porn star for an alleged one-night stand nearly 20 years ago when he was a TV star and real estate magazine.
You might think Piers Morgan is talking some sense, but you are wrong. This guy has no idea about logic. Just wait till the end to see how Republican John Bolton rips him apart.
Well, the crime that the underlying crime is cooking the books of his company.
Right.
Absolutely spot on. John Bolton effectively dismantled Piers Morgan's argument about the Trump case. While Morgan tried to downplay the charges as trivial, Bolton emphasized the seriousness of the underlying crime, financial fraud. He made it clear that the case wasn't just about hush money, but about falsifying business records, which is a significant offense. Bolton also drew a parallel to Bill Clinton's payoff to Paula Jones, showing that such actions can indeed impact elections and are far from trivial. His pointed comments highlighted the gravity of Trump's actions, exposing the flaws in Morgan's attempt to minimize the issue. Bolton's straightforward rebuttal left little room for Morgan's arguments to stand, making it clear that financial crimes cannot be ignored, especially when they involve a former president.
You're confusing crimes together. You're confusing crimes together.
Well, no, I'm just saying that when you
point
pay,
I want to make,
if you pay people off,
can I make my point?
Yeah, sure.
Republican Bolton's straightforward approach highlighted just how out of touch Morgan was. At times, it seemed like Morgan was struggling with basic common sense, as if trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Bolton's takedown was not just a rebuttal, but a comedy routine that left the audience questioning if Morgan even understood the seriousness of the charges. In the end, Bolton's clear logic made Morgan's arguments look as weak as a soggy biscuit.
I don't think there are many American voters who have ever even seen a porn star in person, let alone slept with them, let alone paid hush money.
John Bolton expertly schooled Piers Morgan with his incisive critique of Trump's behavior. While Morgan attempted to downplay the charges as inconsequential, Bolton cut through the noise with a stark reality check. He pointed out that the average American voter hasn't had interactions with porn stars, much less paid hush money to them. Bolton emphasized that P's sleazy and tawdry lifestyle is not the model that Americans want for their children and grandchildren. By focusing on the broader societal impact of Trump's actions, Bolton made it clear that this isn't just about a legal conviction, but about the moral example being set for future generations. His argument was a masterclass in common sense, highlighting how detached Morgan's defense was from the values of everyday Americans. Bolton's schooling of Morgan was as sharp as it was devastating, leaving no doubt that Trump's behavior is far from trivial and has significant consequences for the nation's moral fabric. But this wasn't enough for Morgan's because he was also schooled by Cenk Uygur. Cenk Uygur, who is an educated attorney, tried to guide Piers Morgan through the case after Republican John Bolton destroyed Morgan's flawed understanding. Bolton had already made it clear that Morgan's perspective was completely off, but seeing that Morgan still didn't get it, Uygur stepped in to give it another shot.
Paula Jones was a lawsuit. It was settled. There was no hiding the money and paying it through Michael Cohen or someone else.
Paid her off.
Yeah, but that's a normal settlement.
Yeah, but why did he pay her off? Is my point.
He didn't do a campaign finance.
Cenk Uygur thoroughly schooled Piers Morgan by addressing Morgan's flawed comparison to Paula Jones. Uygur pointed out that Paula Jones's case was a lawsuit settled openly, without secret payments through intermediaries like Michael Cohen. He emphasized that while both Clinton and Trump paid off women to protect their political reputations, the key issue with Trump is the campaign finance violations and business fraud. Uygur made it clear that the immorality of sleeping with a porn star wasn't the problem. It was the illegal actions taken to cover it up that mattered. This sharp clarification left no room for Morgan's misguided arguments, effectively dismantling his position. Cenk Uygur was getting visibly frustrated, and this was about an hour into Piers Morgan's uncensored show. Uygur was trying to explain that Trump wasn't charged or convicted simply for paying a porn star hush money. He emphasized that there are legal ways to do such things, as Bill Clinton did with Paula Jones through a legal settlement that didn't violate campaign finance laws. Trump, on the other hand, broke the law, which is why he was convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records. Clinton didn't do that. Piers Morgan seemed almost deliberately stupid, misunderstanding the entire case to make it sound ridiculous. He created a straw man argument to pander to his right-wing audience. The situation is better described as an election interference case, not just a hush money case. It was amusing to see how Morgan's dishonesty infuriated both John Bolton, a conservative former Trump national security advisor who hates Joe Biden and the Democrats, and Cenk Uygur, who also dislikes the Democrats and Biden. Morgan's nonsense created this unlikely alliance, showing just how off-base his arguments were. To put it in perspective, imagine if a CEO of a major corporation was found to have falsified financial records to hide illicit activities. Would Morgan be so quick to dismiss these actions as trivial? Unlikely. The stakes are even higher when it comes to a former president. Trump's actions undermine the integrity of the electoral process, something Morgan conveniently overlooks in his rush to defend the indefensible. Adding to the absurdity, Morgan tried to draw a parallel to Bill Clinton's settlement with Paula Jones, claiming that it was essentially the same as Trump's situation. This is like comparing apples to orangutans. Clinton's settlement was a legal agreement with no hidden transactions or campaign finance violations. In contrast, Trump's payments involved covert operations through intermediaries, resulting in falsified business records. Morgan's comparison is not only flawed, but also intellectually lazy, showcasing his willingness to twist facts to fit his narrative. If Morgan's goal was to create a circus, he certainly succeeded, but not in the way he might have hoped. His performance was akin to watching a clown juggling with no sense of balance or rhythm, dropping every argument as soon as he picked it up. Cenk Uygur, a progressive commentator who is also critical of the Democratic establishment, tried to set Morgan straight by pointing out the fundamental differences between legal settlements and fraudulent cover-ups. But even Uygur's efforts seemed to bounce off Morgan's skull like a tennis ball off a brick wall. When it comes to depicting Trump as a victim of political persecution, rather than a perpetrator of severe crimes, the concept that Morgan is so frantic about doing so is something that is totally ludicrous. Morgan is concerned about portraying Trump in this more accurate manner. In point of fact, Morgan is concerned about this topic because she is concerned about portraying Trump as a victim of political persecution. It is almost as if he is operating under the idea that if he continues to speak a lie for a given amount of time, it will eventually become real that he has been telling it. This is the assumption that the individual is operating under. It appears that he is operating under this impression. In the event that this strategy is exposed to even the most fundamental level of scrutiny, it would appear that it is completely unsuccessful. On the other hand, despite the fact that it is conceivable that this approach could be helpful for tabloid headlines, it appears to be completely unsuccessful. Either Morgan's profound ignorance or his brazen dishonesty is demonstrated by the fact that he is unable to comprehend the gravity of Trump's acts or to acknowledge the legal difficulties that are involved. The fact that Morgan is unable to perform either of these tasks is evidence that both of these things are true. There is evidence that both of these assertions accurately reflect the situation, and that evidence is the fact that Morgan is unable to carry out either of these obligations. In his attempt to minimize the legal challenges that Trump is currently facing, Piers Morgan is not just making a mistake, but he is also making a deliberate effort to misinform and give the wrong impression. This statement is not just a mistake. To phrase it another way, he is attempting to convey the incorrect impression. The attempt is not only prone to making blunders as a result of this, but it also has a malicious goal behind it. And tremendous amount of intellectual dishonesty is displayed by his arguments, which are devoid of any logical thinking and are full of false equivalencies and simply lies. His arguments are a demonstration of this dishonesty. His arguments are an example of intellectual dishonesty when they are presented. His comments are a glaring illustration of the individual's level of dishonesty, which is a problem. The way in which this individual articulates their line of thought is nothing short of astounding. In spite of the fact that it is amusing to see Morgan fall into his own linguistic traps, it is also disturbing because it brings to light the difficulties that come with providing a platform to someone who is more focused on show than by actually providing substance. To put it another way, it truly is a sword with two edges. To phrase it another way, it is a weapon that has two sides to it. It would be in Morgan's best interest to put his act on hold and make it possible for those persons who continue to place a high value on truth and integrity to have conversations that are truthful from the very beginning of the conversation. Morgan is now in a position to carry out this action since the moment has come. Republican John Bolton is not the only one who exposed Trump. We have our own U.S. newscaster special of exposing Trump. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Hope you enjoy.